Hey everybody, what's the Fox Gaming here? So I've got a brand new PvP build video for you today, and I've actually drafted in my clan buddy Paradox to help me out with this one, because this definitely works better when you're with a team. What I wanted to do here was see if True Patriot can work as well as it used to, even though it's been nerfed into the ground. The current main armor set is Bulwark Bulwark set, because it gives you loads of armor regen, but in TU10.1, which I think is coming out in 2 weeks time, that's getting nerfed as well, and a lot of the armor regen is going to disappear. The reason that True Patriot used to be king of the armor sets is because it heals you a lot, and in particular it used to double stack with Pestilence. That's no longer a thing, and the healing is pretty bad on this, but it does offer a lot of benefits in other ways that I think could fit in quite well when TU 10.1 launches, and to be fair, even now. So what I've done is put together a build that's basically a support tank. It's 6 armor core, so no reds on here at all, 1.9 million armor. So True Patriot, the 2-piece gives you 30% ammo capacity, which to be fair is pretty terrible, as that's just your reserves. It doesn't do anything for your weapon, but it could, I guess, be good if you're doing long dark zone runs and you've got gunner on to regen that. The main reason that I like it is for the 3-piece. It's the only way in the game to buff a magazine size, obviously apart from the mods. So what I've done here is I've chosen a weapon that has a low mag. The best example of this is actually the Tactical Vector 9mm. This weapon has so many strengths, it's still pretty much the best SMG in the game, apart from maybe Lady Death, and its one weakness is its low mag count. So by running this with True Patriot, you've basically removed that one weakness to make this a bit of a god tier weapon. Obviously I'm not going to do a huge amount of damage because, you know, this is a tank build, but this is just a way for me to do as much as possible with that loadout. The 3-piece True Patriot, so for those that don't know, just to clarify, you apply 3 debuffs to an enemy, red, white and blue. Red amplifies all damage that they take. So amplifies means multiplicative. That means that 8% is on top of any other debuff and buff and everything else that's going on. There's just 8% more damage total, which is awesome. White, when you shoot an enemy, and this is anybody, it does actually repair your armor. I don't believe this works well with other people that haven't applied the buff. I think it's still bugged in that sense. But it will repair my own armor by 2% for each second whilst I'm firing. This used to be substantially higher. I think it was like 8% or 6% or something, I can't remember, and you could buff it even higher with the backpack. But that's not the point of this build, it's no longer a face tank build. And then finally blue simply decreases the damage that they deal to us by 8% as well. So this is the way that I class this as a support tank. I'm going to be shooting into enemies, I'm going to be lowering the damage that they output to my team and increasing our own damage to them. I'm also doing that via Demolitionist. So this isn't really used that much in Conflict at the moment, but it has a couple of quite useful talents that actually buff your team and really sort of synergize well with a support tank build. So the main one is the 5% damage to targets out of cover. This just applies without any range limitations as long as you're in a group and you're in the same server, so a dark zone server or conflict game. Everybody just gets 5% extra damage unless somebody's sat in cover, which to be fair never really happens. A lot of people run Firewall with their builds because you get, you know, so running Intimidate, you get the 10% extra damage if you're within 10 meters and anybody else that shoots the enemy gets it. But that obviously is based on, you know, you being in the right range. This is just a flat 5% damage buff, which is really good. It gives me quite good burn resistance as well, and I have spec'd a lot this into Hazard. You know, in true tank form, I want to survive. I don't have the armor regen to fall back on for survivability here, so what I've replaced that with is high armor and high hazard protection, and this just helps out with that. The armor kit gives me 30% weapon handling, which is insane. That's huge for 15 seconds. So that means I can just reload my gun even faster than I already can. And there's a few other things that are kind of useful. It's mostly for the team play. It's mostly just the 5% damage. That's kind of the reason I've gone for this in conjunction with the burn resistance, because I want it to be very hazard resistant. So that's sort of how I'm buffing my team's damage there with the red and white flag and of course Demolitionist. The other way that I'm doing it, and this is a bit more substantial, is I've decided to go with Vanguard and Protector. Both of these talents give my entire team, and again there is no range limitation, they could be anywhere in the map here, it gives them bonus armor. The meta as of TU10 and 10.1 is Intimidate and Adrenaline Rush. Let's quickly show you Intimidate. If you don't already know, it gives you multiplicative damage, a 35% weapon damage boost to enemies within 10 meters, as long as you have bonus armor. Most people now are achieving that with Adrenaline Rush, if I can find that for you. So basically when they get within that 10 meters, it just gives them a stack of bonus armor, and that's fantastic. It works really well. What I'm going to be doing is using a shield here. So Vanguard means that I give, change it to PvP, 20% of my nearly 2 million armour, so we're talking nearly 400k, and that lasts for 20 seconds, and I can apply that every 25 seconds as long as I've got a shield. So I'm constantly giving my team bonus armour. It also helps my own survivability, as one, I've got a shield, which means it's, I'm not taking as much damage because I've got a shield, and two, the shield is actually immune, invulnerable to damage for 5 seconds when I deploy it. But again, that's part of the 25-second cooldown. So that helps both me, excuse me to stay alive and to give my team that bonus armour, which helps them stay alive. And again, as a support tank, it buffs their damage through Intimidate. Protector is quite similar. When your shield is damaged, you gain 5% bonus armour, but all my other allies, my teammates, gain 15% of my armour as bonus armour for 3 seconds. That doesn't have a lower amount for PvP, it's just 15%. But the best part is it's every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds, if I'm in the front lines taking damage, my teammates are just getting that bonus armour. And whether it's 1% or 1000% is irrelevant. It still procs Intimidate if they're within 10 meters. So this build has just given my team loads of different ways to stay alive through bonus armour, loads of different ways to do damage through the true Patriot debuff, and of course Demolitionist and the bonus armour to work with their Intimidate. And it's given myself a lot of ways to stay alive and do damage with the extra mag count on the tactical vector, the shield to stay alive, and the minimal healing. It doesn't stack with incoming repairs or anything like that. The final thing I'm doing to buff myself and my team is a booster hive. So this is getting a nice buff in TU10.1. As of that patch, it's going to offer 10% at base level, so with no skill. It's going to offer 10% weapon damage, 10% weapon handling, which is really nice, 10% melee damage, which is basically pointless, and 10% hazard protection, which is the new addition. That'll actually go up to 60% hazard protection as your skill tier gets higher. So all of these buffs that I can give to myself and my team, including the skills, just means that this is a true support tank, and the reason that I think True Patriot is still viable in TU10 and 10.1. You just won't be playing it in the way that you would before, which is face tanking and healing via Pestilence. So what we'll do is we'll load into a conflict game. Let's check out my my buddy Paradox's loadout here. He is running Intimidate on his chest. He's got Adrenaline Rush on his back, the perfected version, and he's got a bit of armour regen to help him out as well with Lady Death. So me and him are going to be running together, hopefully getting lots of kills. I'm going to try and take the front lines here to give him as much overshield or bonus armour as possible, and then him and the rest of the team are just going to run around and pick up those kills. Hopefully this goes better than, or at least as well as I hope it will. 5 agents found. Okay, I'll quickly show you the mag count of the gun. So the Vector was always really strong. Before the Lady Death got its buff in TU10, I think it was, this gun here was king. It was ridiculous. The only downside was that it had, I think it's like 30 bullets in the mag. I can't remember the exact number. And yes, it's got a pretty fast, reload time. I think it's like 1.9 seconds. There you go. You're reloading all the time. I've now got 50 bullets in the mag, so I think I'm going to be output more damage than I should be able to as a tank, just because of this gun, because it's got massive burst damage. It's 1200 RPM, and imagine that with Optimist. Weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. So the faster you get rid of your mag, the more beneficial Optimist is, and 1200 RPM, that says it all. It just takes a bit longer to empty your mag, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm using Eagle Bearer as my secondary just so that I can apply the True Patriot debuff from range, but honestly, use what you want here. If you want to use something like Diamondback or the Virginian, because they also have low mag counts. True Patriot only takes them from 5 bullets to 6, but it's still a free bullet at the end of the day, so use what you want as your secondary. It doesn't really make a difference. If you do have any suggestions on how to play this build, please do let me know in the comments. I haven't really seen any True Patriot apart from in PvE, so if anybody has a True Patriot build that they feel works really well, let me know how you build it in the comments. I will try it out for myself and credit you in the video and let you know my thoughts on it. So I know Paradox has got his where is it? I think he's got his Intimidate build on. Okay, that's a shame. So none of my teammates are running it. It is just him. So I was hoping, even though we're queuing in with 2 randoms, that they will both be running Intimidate as well, because that's where this build excels. I don't encourage that you run this solo play. It's not great solo. It's not great queuing up with a team that you don't know in Conflict or the Dark Zone, if you're just matchmaking, you really only ever want to play this build with 3 Intimidate users as your partners. Otherwise its usefulness does start to drop off, and that might become apparent in this game. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm still giving people extra damage that they wouldn't have had without me. I'm going to stay alive longer, hopefully, which is always a good thing. And of course the bonus armor is going to help their survivability as well, so it still has its place. Okay, world's longest loading screen. So I'm going to try and play hyper aggressive here. I'm not going to be stupid obviously, but I'm going to try and get right out in front, because the more damage that I can take is less damage that my team are taking, and it's more ways for me to give them an overshield, so good stuff. Right, you're on comms now. Yeah, let's go bridge. Just try and stay behind me as much as you can, Para. One at the end of the bridge. 2, 3 here.
Rogue explosive seeker mine detected.
I actually forgot to go through my hazard immunity stats, but I'm at nearly 100. I'm at 99 point something% on burn, about 90% on bleed, and about 80% on everything else, or 70%. So it's really high. People cannot find me for very long at all here, which is really good. Right, let's give everybody a quick overshield. Dodge that. Get in this parrot. So this guy shoots into my shield is going to give everybody a bit of extra overshield, which means we can melt them down. The problem with shields is you do get stuck in your teammates a little bit. Oh, to the left, to the left. Ah, there's 2 guys from the spawn there. I should have known they were there earlier, as that's where they come in. I've died now, mate.
Agent vital signs 0.
Oh, it's spawn in their spawn. So that's how strong this gun is. Look at that. Even with no weapon damage. I mean, that was a bit unfortunate. I spawned in their spawn. That's something that Massive really do need to fix.
Rogue hive detected.
So what I'll try and do is, if I see something in front, I'll pop down the booster hive straight away, because the duration of the buff lasts for about 5 seconds. So if I run through it, my team run through it, we don't need to stay in range for it to give everybody that buff. No, I don't think any of these guys are using riot foam, but if you have a quick look at my... Where is it? So yeah, 80% hazard protection, 97 bleed, 99 burn. So in snare, bleed, burn, they do pretty much nothing to me. I could have spec this into critical hit chance and damage, but the good thing about SMGs is they have really high critical hit chance, so I don't really need to do that. Oh, he didn't pass the seconds. Nice. So you see that blue and red debuff on him there? He was doing less damage to us. Go up the top of the hill, go up the top of the hill. Excellent. Yeah, he was doing less damage to us and we were doing more damage to him. So that's still their spawn.
Detected.
I'm going to pull over here for the boost. It's time to get boosted. I think on this build my critical hit chance is nearly max anyway, even though I've literally got nothing rolled into red. Yeah, 58%, but my critical hit damage is only 45. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's not a damage build, so just like all builds, try and get your critical hit chance as high as possible, at least 50%, and then you can worry about the rest into critical hit damage.
If the enemy doesn't turn this around, they'll be pulled out.
Rogue explosive seeker mine detected.
Good news as well is the armour buff counts as bonus armour in Conflict, so that's another way to why Intimidate is so good at the moment.
Rogue striker drone detected.
Give you an overshield, mate. Pull out if you can.
Agent down.
Ah, I couldn't raise you, sorry, buddy.
Nobody's pulling out. The fight goes on. The rogues have run out of reinforcements. You can win this.
One guy left. Actually, is he... Oh, I think I just saw him. As soon as that Vanguard... There we go. Overshield for this guy too. Swear I just saw a skill over here somewhere. Have you got on your side, Paradox? I guess they're this way. Oh, there he is. So, this guy on overshield, just help him out. Ooh, see if I can get in front of him here.
I'm sending you a specialization.
There we go, easy game. Easy game. Now that probably would have gone well regardless of the build anyway, to be fair, because I had a very dominant team, but yeah, that's literally the way to play the build. You just want to be in front at all times, you're constantly giving everybody those buffs with your weapon, and because you've got all that extra ammo, it's a really easy way to deal big damage, particularly with that specific weapon, but also to apply the buff. You can literally use any weapon that you want, you're not restricted at all, so play what you're comfortable with. The only reason I chose the Vector is because it's a really strong weapon that has one weakness that I've removed through that set, so that's why I would say use that, but honestly just use what you're comfortable with. Alright, let's have a look at the stats. Let's have a look at the stats, see how well we did. So my damage was super awesome at 5 million. But yeah, you see our top guy there, he was absolutely smashing it. We only died one time each, so that's really good. And that's exactly the point of a support tank. You can, you know, some people play tanks in a way that they don't really help the team out. It's more just to keep themselves alive. The way that I like to play tanks is to benefit my team and whilst staying alive at the same time, and I really do think the true Patriot can do that. So try it out, let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said before, if you've got any own variants of this build or any weapons that you prefer with it, please let me know. Thanks again for all the likes and subscribes to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.